Hello, viewers. Hi, welcome to the Write-Tukubuli Virtual Literary Festival Author Showcase. And today, our writer is Delroy Nesta Williams. Delroy is a seasoned writer from Dominica. He has been involved in the literary scene for a long time. He was a member of the organizing committee for the Nature Island Literary Festival, and he's always been a real supporter of writers, especially new up-and-coming writers who might be a bit nervous or shy. So, hi, welcome, Delroy.
Hi, Celia. What's up? Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's our pleasure. So, Delroy, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your writing journey, how long you've been writing for, and what genres you write in.
My name is Delroy Nesta, the writer. That's what the name I go by in terms of writing. I'm from the community of Bafa States in Dominica. I've been writing since high school. In terms of Dominica Grammar School, I did from second or third form, about 12 or 14 years. But I never took it really seriously. I just did it as a hobby, having my little scrapbook, my little notebooks, writing my poetry and so forth. But it wasn't until the literary festival that I was introduced to Write-Tukubuli and all the other Dominican writers that I decided that, you know what, I can take this seriously. I can pen something serious in terms of putting out a book. I first worked on my poetry, and then gradually I developed a love for short story writing. I'm hoping to further that later in life in terms of doing a full-length novel. But for now, I concentrate mainly on short stories and poetry. And in relation to how I actually became involved in terms of the literary festival, I was the president of the National Youth Council at the time. And Mr. Bowley approached me as the president to have some youth representation at the festival. And then he invited about three of us to come to the opening ceremony. And we were there, and I was like, yeah, I feel this. I know I love the energy. And so from there, I became a member of the committee. And so from there, I grew from strength to strength in terms of my writing because of the numerous workshops that we had there, with the different authors from across the Caribbean. I particularly remember Moakil from Trinidad, who had a very good
Mohammed, yeah.
right, and that just inspired me to continue to do my writing.
Okay, that's awesome. So you write poetry, short stories. Do you have a favorite genre that you prefer?
Well, I prefer short story, to be honest, but
Yeah.
sometimes poetry gets my message across in a quicker period of time. So I could write something in
Okay.
terms of and deliver a quick message in poetry. Whereas before a short story, you have to look at the character arc, you have to look at setting, you have to look at all that. But short story, with poetry, you can just let your words flow on paper, or let it flow in person, and everybody gets the message. So there are times when poetry lends itself better to the message, and other times where I prefer to delve deeper into character and into setting and so forth. And short story works better in that aspect.
Okay, cool. So it's been, a number of years that you've been growing and experiencing, the writing journey. Have there been any memorable moments for you that you would say stand out in your mind?
Well, the most memorable moment, the first one I had was the launch of my first collection of poetry. I did that in a shop at the time it was in the Kenfield Industrial site. I launched the book there, and it was just a wonderful experience to see friends, family come out to support, and Mr. Bully was there as well, and he wrote on my book at the time, Dominica's next great poetry and short story writer. So that meant a
I
lot.
remember that. Yeah.
Right. So that meant a lot to me, and I think that gave me the impetus and the encouragement to continue. And from since then, I've been writing, taking it seriously as almost to say as a vocation, as a
Yeah.
form of employment, if you might say, even if it doesn't really pay that as that, but still,
Yeah.
as the kind of approach I give it.
Yeah, the kind of dedication. And that was one room shack, right?
Yes, that was One Room Shack. Yes, in
One room
2010.
shack. So 2010. So what
Yes.
are your other publications? So there's One Room
Well,
Shack in
since
2010.
Since then, I have only published one other book in terms of my formal book. It's called Hug Me. I have a copy of it right there with me. It was launched
Okay.
in 2023, but I did contribute to a number of other anthologies and collections over the years. But Hug Me is my most recent contribution to the writing world, and it's a collection of short stories about island life. I think Celia, you did the forward for this, so
Yeah,
I'm sure you're
I
aware.
love that,
Yeah.
those short stories.
And I
Yeah.
think I poured my life and my experiences into that short story collection. I'm currently working on a second short story collection, but it's still in its infancy stages, so I don't want to boast it or to
Okay.
speak
All
about it too
right.
much. Yeah.
Okay,
But
cool.
Hug Me is
So
a
that,
work of Hug Me is a work of experience, of love, of dedication. I just needed to put something out to be consider myself a published author. The first book was self-published, so it did not really give me that how I say it. I didn't feel like I achieved it during the quote unquote the normal route, the publisher route. But this Hug Me, I went for a formal publisher and I had the publishing experience, so I can speak to that aspect as well.
yeah, yeah, we'll talk
So
about
yeah,
that.
I,
Yeah.
I feel that this
Yeah.
one was more of an accomplishment than the first book. Although the
Okay.
first book to me is a very good milestone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that concept of, the difference between self-publish and going through the publishing route, do you think that's changing? That there is not so much, there used to be the stigma about self-publishing, back many years ago, but do you think that's kind of not the same anymore, and self-published, because nowadays self-published books can be entered for literary competitions just the same as going through the traditional publishing route. So what do you think? You think
Yes,
it's
I think
changing?
this stigma is changing, but there are still some authors or some writers who feel that although you can self-publish, but at least have one or two of your works being published for the normal channels to gain some what's the term I'm looking for, to gain some formality in your writing. So yes,
Right. And like
so
kind of external validation kind of
right,
thing.
yes, exactly. To
Yeah.
be validated as a
Yeah.
writer, you need some
Yeah.
formal publishing. I felt that as well, and that is why I wanted Help Me to be formally published through a publishing house, and it was a Dominican publishing house. So I felt
Okay.
extremely proud as well to be part of that journey. It's a small publishing house, new, emerging,
Yep.
developing, but still,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy the fact that I did that. In relation to the stigma, yes, it is changing. We see a lot of self-published authors now. It's
Yep.
even outselling persons who are involved in formal publishing. So it's all about
Exactly. Yeah.
getting your readership, getting the outreach, and being able to
Yes.
market your book and making
Yes.
sure that what you put out is quality work that people will appreciate.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of leveled the playing field a lot, I
Right.
think, in that
And now with
respect.
all the
Yeah.
tools that we have in terms of AI and being able to do the editing and the copywriting, that makes it even easier for self-published authors to put out quality work, because you can just
Yeah.
run your writing through AI to do your editing. But you still have to get some human touch, but still at
Yeah.
least AI helps
Yeah,
in certain
that
aspects.
that's one of going to be one of our lit vibes conversations. Is we're going to have a panel
I'm
discussion
looking forward
about
to
the
it.
whole.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so that will be interesting. So so you've had a self-published book and you've had a formally published book. What would you say? I mean, I know the self-published one was quite some time ago now, but
Right.
what would you say were some of the advantages between? Because they're two different things. So what were some of the advantages and different and disadvantages between the two, do you think, for you?
Well, in relation to the self-publish, I had full
Hmm.
control, full creative
Yeah,
control.
yeah,
Even every error in there, I had to take ownership of it.
yeah,
I also think it was more of a labor of love, because with me, I forgot I had to do everything, and I started from scratch, not even really knowing how to format a book. And
yeah.
so having to do a lot of research, a lot of additional reading, and so forth. But in terms of the formal publishing, it was still a labor of love, but a lot
Hmm.
of the work, outside of the writing and editing of the story, was out of my hands. So the layout, the cover, although I had a lot of input into the cover, but still the final product wasn't fully
okay.
how I envisioned it, but I still embraced it, and
Okay.
I felt that the self-published, it gives you more hands-on experience,
Yeah.
but still the formal publishing, it gives you a lot of more outreach in terms of the publisher having more connections within the publishing
Access.
world.
Okay.
Also,
Right.
yeah, access. And just if me forget, you can also, when I self-publish, I only printed 100 copies. Like at the time, it was difficult, and
Yeah, the costs, because you have
right,
to pay all
because
the costs, right? Yeah.
yeah, we might be
I mean,
publisher
and
is
that was
on
before,
demand.
I was just about to say, when you self-published, that was before like Amazon KDP, right?
Yes,
That was
yeah, 2010.
before.
I didn't even know Amazon existed. So 2010
Yeah,
was,
so
yeah, yeah,
yeah. So that made it even harder in that respect,
right.
because
I became a,
nowadays, yeah,
I became a peddler of the book. To be going of
yeah,
office to office, door to door, selling my book. But now with the advent of publisher, that basically removed that aspect of selling the book. I just send the links to people via WhatsApp or on
yeah.
Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. And for those out there, because sometimes, writers get really scared about the editing process, when they have got to go through a formal publishing route.
Right.
How did you find it? What were some of the challenges, or some of the things that you felt, were really necessary going through the editing process?
Well, I remember in particular one story that I wanted to include in a Hug Me, and the
Mhm.
editor was like, change this, change that, and change this, and I was like, there's so many changes to me, changing the essence of the story. At the end of the day,
Was
I
it
just
a Caribbean? Was it
yeah,
a Caribbean
yes,
editor?
yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
And at the end of the day, I decided, you know what, let me remove that story from the book, because if I change it to what they're asking me, it wouldn't feel like my story.
Sorry,
So
anymore.
I
Okay.
decided to remove it from the book itself, and yeah. But the experience, the
Okay.
editing experience was how I say it, it was different. It was
Mm-hmm.
challenging as well, because
Yeah.
sometimes you want to say a particular, describe a particular scene in a particular way, and the editor says,
Mm-hmm.
this way works better, and or the language, because I like to write in my Dominican vernacular in terms of the
Yeah.
speech of my
Mm-hmm.
characters.
Yeah.
And sometimes, well, you have to remember too that not all of the audience is Dominican. Sometimes you have to, you're also writing for international audience. So certain way we say certain things may not conjure the same emotion or the same vision from a writer, a reader, sorry, who is not Dominican. So you always have to remember that
Okay.
I had a little difficulty in doing that.
Yeah.
But I
But
try my best
yeah.
to keep to the local
Okay.
language
I
and
was going to say, because that's changing too, right?
yes,
This
yes,
whole
yes,
stigma about nation language.
right,
There's writers now who are winning awards, right? Writing
right,
in,
right.
and what they're saying is, well, when we read Charles Dickens, that
It's
is
in his
not
language,
our,
right.
we have to then, try to understand what is being meant. So why can't, other readers try to
Do
understand
the
what.
same.
Yeah, so I think that's changing too.
Yeah,
Cool, awesome.
I've taken an approach where I feel that right now all my stories are in our local native language, the characters, except for the children's stories that I'm writing.
Yeah.
I keep that more formal English, because I want the children
Okay.
to develop, or to read that. But I mean, in terms
Yeah.
of older readers that have already mastered English,
Yeah.
yeah, let
Yes.
them dabble in the local language.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. Awesome. Thanks for that, Del. And
Right.
tell me what are some of your inspirations? For your
Uh,
writing, the poetry, the short stories. What do you get inspired by?
everyday life. In my prior life, I was a youth advocate, a gender advocate. So a lot of my stories dealt with issues of youth and
Mm-hmm.
gender, domestic violence, sexual abuse. As I've grown, the topics have changed slightly. But
Right.
right, I take inspiration from everyday life. In fact, one of my stories that I've written in the Help Me book, it was written entirely during a bus ride that I was taking from Roseau to Salisbury. And I was just overhearing a conversation between two persons on the bus. And then I say, you know what, that sounds like a scenario I can use to write it. And I wrote this short story right there. I mean, I went and added a few things to
Yeah.
develop the character
Mm-hmm.
and so forth. But in terms of the essence of the story, what was written on the bus. And so I can take inspiration from almost any and everything around me. Sometimes I'm at work and I'm over here in conversations and I'm just taking notes in my. People think I'm on my phone, playing games or whatever, but I'm just taking notes. I'm developing my character. I'm developing
observing
what is around me, and sometimes I can get lost in my phone doing that. I've written entire stories on my cell phone as well.
Yeah, I think that really comes across, that human touch, because when you read your stories, you just feel so connected to the characters. You feel like you know them. Yeah. So
sometimes I read what I write and I'm like, wow, I wrote that and I'm like, what? Sometimes I don't really remember writing the story itself in terms of the full story. I don't even remember parts of what, and I'm like, tell where you were in the zone during
that. You can really feel that.
Yes.
So do you have like a regular writing practice? Obviously you have a full-time job, you have a family, how do you find time to write? Do you have to set time aside, or do you just write when you can?
Lately, before I had a practice, I would write between 10 and 2 at night, and I was missing a lot of sleep. And then I developed a love for Coke and Coca-Cola, because it will help me to stay up, and the sugar rush would help me to write. And so,
okay.
But I went away from that, and now I write when I can. Sometimes the life itself just consumes with so much responsibility that I don't get. Like, sometimes weeks and months pass, and I'm not really written a whole in terms of a formal story, but I still have notes in my phone, that I jot down from time to time. I can use when I get time to sit down. And also I've been doing some formal studies at the University of the West Indies, so that has taken away from my time to write. But even in that, I found the time to write 2 books. Imagine. So they are children's book, but they were still in terms of the effort, I felt that they were still important. Yeah.
That really shows, that if you really want to do it, even if you have other commitments in your life, you can make the time. So on that note, sort of different to when it's a case of you just haven't got the time, but are there times when you really want to write, but you experience what people call writer's block, when you feel the urge that you need to write, but nothing is coming?
Yes, I battle writer's block all the time, in terms of wanting to write, needing to write, and the words just not coming. You start to write and something disturbs you, and you get back to it, and then it's just not flowing like it was at first, and then you find yourself in a little funk. That happens to me frequently. In terms of what I do, sometimes I just relax and tell myself the story will come back to me, and eventually it does, and I will. But other times I try to fight through it. What happens to me? What helps me a lot is when I read other people's work. So if I'm writing and I get stuck and so forth, and I decide, I'm in a funk, and 2-3 days pass by, I want to write and I cannot write, I go and read.
And that inspires you.
It could be a physical book or reading online, or even listening to a podcast or something. So that helps me to get some inspiration.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be anything related to what I'm writing. It just general reading. Yes.
It just kickstart the process, the creative process again. Okay, that's really good advice, I think, as well. So, sometimes we see there's people like Earl Lovelace, right, who has decided he's not living Trinidad, and he's a well-known writer. But many other writers feel they cannot make it in the Caribbean. They have to leave. They have to go to America, Canada, UK. You've been here all the time. I'm assuming you don't plan to leave. What do you find are some of the advantages and disadvantages being a writer from Dominica, living in Dominica?
Well, the thing is, I can fully immerse myself in Dominican culture and in Dominican lifestyle. So that's my topic of choice. That's what I want to write about, island life. So I think being here allows me to analyze and to dissect our way of life and to contribute to my writing in terms of that. It contributes a lot to my writing. I don't have intentions of leaving Dominica, particularly if it means to pursue writing, then I'm staying right here. I think I'm contributing more to my country being here as a writer, I can participate in activities such as this, programs or shows, talent shows, or anything else that has to do with reading and writing. If I'm here, I can contribute fully to that.
Okay.
But I understand why persons may feel the need to venture out, because in terms of exposure, in terms of population, in terms of networking and the resources available outside of Dominica is greater. So you can greater take a risk out there to in terms of pursuing writing as a career outside of Dominica than in here. And that's one of the things I think we can work to develop on, is in terms of how we can make it easier for Dominican writers who are based in Ireland to flourish, or we can create networks, or we can develop book clubs, writing clubs, and all that help us to develop.
Yeah, especially when you think, like your Hug Me can be available to anyone, anywhere in the world, right? So it's just a case of how do they get to know about it. And also, if you go to these places, you're going to be one of even a greater number of writers, right? Who are all vying for the same things, the same attention as well. So there's pros and cons, wherever you're located, I think. But One Room Shack, I was just thinking, that's out of print right now. Is it out of print, or can people still buy it?
No, it's out of print. I still have the PDF version and the printed version, the skeleton, the draft. But
I would love to see it. I'd love to see you republish that. That would be cool.
I could probably revisit that and probably even add a few additional poems to it, and reissue, because I did it self-published, so I can always do that.
Because I love the whole concept of it and the front cover and everything.
The house that I use on the front cover, it survived Hurricane Maria, so I was really glad. When I went back to Morton Waven and I saw that the house was still there, I was like, yes, all right,
I'll try to get a picture of that up and put it up on the video for sure. So, on that front, one of the issues we have is, like you say, our small population. They say we are around 70,000 population. And even then, our reading population is even smaller. And even then, the people with disposable income, books can be seen as a luxury, right? When people are trying to feed their families, they're trying to just make it in life. It's not easy for people to say, to have enough money to go buy a book. So, is there any things you can, any ideas you think of how, that's again is another panel discussion that we're going to have is, how can we improve the distribution and readership for the Dominican writers, both locally, regionally?
One of the things I think we can venture into in terms of ebooks, but even before we venture into ebooks, because there are things we can do at the community level to encourage reading. Different writers or readers groups, I
think those are a really good idea. The reading groups. I think that would be a great idea. Yeah.
And I think we've had one on the national level. Yeah, it's sort of dormant now, but I think if we begin at the community level, then we can get we can develop a buzz and then continue from there. In relation to also encouraging the development of school libraries. I know a number of schools have libraries, but they're probably lacking in terms of local or Dominican books. I think we can provide those books to the schools and probably do guest lectures, guest reading events at schools, particularly our primary schools and the Dominica State College as well, because they have a literature program at the State College. I think we can probably even look at getting some of our writers to do guest lectures at the State College, because if we can speak to the books, speak to the writers, because we see those things happening in other universities across the Caribbean and across the world. So we need to see how we can impact the curriculum at the State College. And one of the other things I think we probably need to do, I know Write-Tukubuli, is a virtual space. Literary festival is involved. But I would love to see the festival come back in its physical form.
Yeah.
At the University of the West Indies. I think that would, even in tribute to the Dr. Bully, this is Dr. Bully.
Yeah.
I think we owe it to him maybe in the next coming years to actually put our heads together. Even if we may not have to call it nature
Because
but some ways repurpose or reformat the idea and make it, because it was in its time it was a very valuable contributor to the writing space and the writing environment. I mean, a number of persons were exposed to regional and international writers, and that allowed us to develop our craft. And we could see in the years of the festival, a number of persons came forward to the publishing Dominican books. So it did have impact at the time, and I would wish we could develop or get funding to
that is the thing. You know, that because it's really expensive to run a physical literary festival. You remember that. So that is one of the things for sure, you know, and it's a shame we don't have, you know, if we could have some of those big backers like some of the other islands have, that would be really good. So as a writer yourself, you know, what other ways do you think you could be supported by various organizations or whatever? You know, I love what you say about the community things and the book groups, reading groups, because these are things writers don't need anyone to organize for them, right? These are things they could do themselves. They could go to their primary schools. They could approach their secondary schools. These are really proactive things that writers could do. But are there anything you think support systems from other organizations that you would like to see to support writers?
Or set up the writing competitions that the cultural division has. I think they can create a space for writers at the old mill, where we can come and do workshops, have readings and other activities. Not just an informal space where we have to call in to, so you know, a dedicated space just for writers, and where we can come in during the day if we need to write, if we need to meditate, if we need to converse with another writer. You come in there and you. I also think we can invest in we need to reinvest in a national library. I think that the lack of a national library, or the lack of the space we normally have for the library is really disheartening for a lot of readers and writers. In relation to, I think also we need to look at scholarships for persons who want to pursue poetry or short story in short courses at universities, whether it be Dominica State College or outside of Dominica itself. I think we need to look at that in terms of how we can sponsor or support writers. And writers retreats. I would love for us to have like what we did in Trinidad.
The Cropper Foundation writing retreat.
If we could organize a writers retreat in Dominica, we could have writers from across the Caribbean come in over a weekend or a week and have writers workshops and hone their craft. Because I remember after the Cropper Foundation, the retreat, I was writing like crazy.
Wow,
the most productive period of writing after that workshop, because I had so many ideas generated and I was so fresh and so motivated that I was writing stories within hours. I would just sit down there for right. My poetry was just coming to me and just, so it was a really productive period and I enjoyed that. So I figured Dominica, we need to bring that experience to Dominica, but we would also need lecturers or professors in literature coming to give the necessary support, because Merle Hodge and Dr. I can't remember his full name.
The late Funcho Ayugina.
Yes, right. They were really inspirational during that time, and they gave us some very good guidance, if I remember well. And so we would need persons of that ilk to assist.
Yeah, it's funny because there's people who host writing retreats here for writers from overseas, which is people from overseas come to Dominica, and there's also people who host reading retreats in Dominica. So yeah, it would be great if we could host.
We probably need to find a way to network or to connect with these people so that we can also participate and share with the people coming in.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah. And I know Create Caribbean as well. Create Caribbean did the writers' room, and they were hosting some writing retreats, I think, as well, and some workshops.
Yeah, I participated in one or two of the activities of Create Caribbean.
Yeah, so that's a good initiative. So more initiatives like that, really, right, would be really helpful to writers for sure. Yeah, thanks for that, Del. And you know, you were talking about AI, and you know, there's so much talk about AI. I always like to say, though, we have to be careful when we say AI, because AI is not an entity. AI is a group of different softwares, right, and different technologies. Right. So people have this idea that AI is just this, you know, boogeyman type thing, but it, you know, and I just wondered, that's one of the Lit Vibes topics we're going to have. You know, is it the future? Will it damage writers? Will writers be out of a job? What are your views about AI? And also the fact that I think it's been said that AI software, copyrighted books may have been used to train some of the language models. I mean, it's not, we don't know if that's true yet, because I think these things have to be all investigated, but it might be a possibility. So how do you feel about these things?
Well, I think in terms of AI's contribution to writing, I mean, it's inevitable. We're going to get persons. In fact, just recently, 2 days ago, one of my friends on Facebook shared a story that was written, a children's story, in terms of AI was used to write the story fully. And so what I want to say is, in terms of, there will always be a room for the authentic writer, because AI cannot speak like me. They can probably copy what I do after, but they cannot speak, or if they can probably take what I have already done and formulate what I might say, but they're not necessarily going to say it the way that I will. And so the human touch will always be important. I think will always be a space for writers.
Human writers.
Yes, that's what I mean. When I say writers, I mean human writers. There's always be a space for human writers. What I can say is writers also need to embrace AI, because I believe AI is going to be involved in a lot of the editing of writers' works, copyright as well, or copy editing, sorry. So in relation to that, I think writers, we probably need to embrace it, but also be hesitant in terms of let's not have AI dominate our work. So let's not just put the prompts into AI and AI generate the story. And no, let's still hone our craft, perfect our craft.
Yeah.
Look at
still use your imagination, right? That's important. Yeah.
Exactly. The minute we lose our imagination, I think we're going to lose our zeal for living, because our imagination is what drives us to improve society. Right? Because
I love that. I'm going to take that quote. That's a great thing. Yeah.
The things that we are enjoying in 2025 are things that people dreamt about in the 1900s and so forth. Flying planes, walking on water, even if we cannot do that yet. But, you know, so all the things that we are enjoying as leisure now are some of the things that people dreamed of doing. So yes, if we allow AI to think for us and to be creative for us, we're going to lose that zeal for living.
Okay, that's cool. And how do you, as a reader now, would you want to know? Do you think the writer should say that this is an AI book, or are you not bothered as a reader? Would you prefer to know?
I would want to know. Yeah. I mean, it probably wouldn't affect the way I read the story, but I would probably I'd probably have a bias in terms of my emotional experience within the book. If I know that it's a human that wrote it, I would probably more look in terms of trying to feel the book, you know, delve into character and put myself into the protagonist's eyes, his eyes and ears, and, you know, immerse myself into that book. I know it's a human writing that book. But I feel it's like an AI, I would just read the book for enjoyment. I probably would not immerse myself
Okay.
into the character.
That's interesting. Yeah. So let me tell you on your whole journey, because people are always giving writers advice, or we're always reading advice that people give. Has there been some advice? What is the worst piece of advice you received, and what is the best piece of advice you've received in terms of
Well,
writing?
I don't remember receiving any really bad advice, to be honest. But the best piece of advice I remember somebody told me, Delroy, write what you know about. Write what you know. Actually, that's what the person said. I remember I wrote a story, and one of my earlier stories, and I situated this story in New York. And I was, because as a child, as a teenager, you're reading Nancy Drew, those books, and they're all based
Yeah.
in the US. So
Yeah.
my story was based in the US, right? I said, but no, you don't really know the US like that. So better write up, situate your characters within the setting that you know. So from then I started writing more about Dominican island life or Caribbean life. I think that was probably the best advice that I
Best
got.
advice you gave. Yeah.
I cannot, even if I've been to these places, it's not the same as immersing myself culturally in Dominica and being knowledgeable about the island life. I can easily describe a Dominican summer. But if
Mm-hmm.
I research to write about a New York summer, I probably have to spend months or probably even years doing research. And even if I immerse myself in New York for one summer, I still will not have enough in my own belief. I will not have enough knowledge to just to the experience and to write about that experience. I could write about my personal experience, but in terms of writing about a character outside of myself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think I would be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
believe the best advice I ever got is to write about what you know. Unless, of course, you're into sci-fi and you're into creating your own worlds and so forth, then
Mm.
you can
But even
go.
even though maybe some of the characterizations of those things are still very things that we can relate to, right?
Yes, right,
Human
right.
experiences and things like that. So yeah. So you kind of, with the whole AI question, it really you're kind of really showing like what you write. It's really all kind of processed through the human being of Delroy, what Delroy
Right.
sees, even what Delroy interprets, etc. Even Delroy's imagination. So that being of Delroy is quite important in,
Very
in,
much,
in
very
terms
much.
of your creative writing, right? Okay.
Another important message I got early on in my writing was it was actually a short story that I read in high school. It was called
Mm-hmm.
His Chosen Calling. I can't remember who the author
Okay.
was at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
the story was about a young man and his father, and he was looking down on his father for being a garbage man, because he felt that was a lowly job and so forth. And
Okay.
over time, he became a garbage man just like his father. And the message in that story, I think it really touched me, and that's it sort of molded the way I write and what I write about and the messages I kind of try to put in my stories and so forth.
Okay, so it shows how that inspiration from early on. It just takes that one book or that one thing you read that really connects you, that can show you the power of why people write, right? It,
Right.
it, it
That's
just
yes,
connects to
exactly.
people. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
cool. And on that note, then, beside that advice you got, which you would obviously say to other people, is there any advice you would want to give to somebody listening, maybe a young writer who's starting out? Any advice that you wanted to offer?
Yes,
I mean, you said some key things already, but anything else?
yes, my first advice my is to just write and hone your skills as much as possible. Share your work because it is in sharing that you grow. Really and truly, unless you're writing to be a closet writer just for your own personal love and joy, and you don't really intend to share your work or to publish your work. But once you intend to take it as a career and you intend to publish and share your work, right, so the most important thing you can do is to find other persons who will with, who involved in writing and share your work and share the experience, because it's in sharing your writing that you really grow. In getting critiquing others' works and in critiquing yours as well, you find opportunity for improvement. I know, like I mentioned earlier, the writers from the retreat we did in Trinidad was one of the greatest
proper foundation.
as a writer, because I saw other persons were critiquing my work. I also was involved in critiquing other person's work, and sometimes the critic makes it harsh. So when you reflect and you look at your work, then you can see ways where you can really improve, and it helps me a lot in developing my writing.
And what it also shows is that you will never be able to know, I think, as well, how a reader is going to interpret your work. Like you could have 10 readers and they could all read and interpret your work differently as well.
Right.
So I thought,
sometimes you write something and you from a different perspective, but somebody has read it from their own perspective. And
yeah, exactly.
It's a totally different message to them than what you intended, but still the message itself is important.
Yeah, exactly. So readers can kind of take different things depending on their own personal experience. They bring themselves to the writing as well, right? So
Right.
yeah, cool. So thank you for that. So is there anything else you'd want to say? I don't know. You said you were working on maybe a children's book, so you don't probably want to mention too much about that.
I can mention them. I'm working on 2 books. I completed the text for both of them. So I'm now working on illustrations for the books. And one is called Dreamland. It's about basically my son and his venture into life, and I want him to look at life in terms of he living his dream. His name is also Dream, so it works. It works well. The second book is called Harry and the Hurricane, which I co-authored with Jeanette Ferrara. We're working on a book about disaster preparedness for children, and so we're looking at it from in terms of a children's story where a young family is going through a hurricane, and what they do to prepare both prior to the hurricane, during the hurricane, and post hurricane, the things that you do as a family. So that experience, we are hoping to have that published sometime either later this year or early next year. So by next hurricane season, it's available for the general public. It's a teaching tool, and also an educational and fun tool as well. So there will be, besides just the story, we are hoping to accompany it with a crossword puzzle, an educational crossword puzzle about Dominica, and also a coloring book as well. So there are various aspects to that, and we are developing it as time goes by, and hopefully by next year it will be available to the public. It's only that one love. It took a lot of time for us to get the concept correct, and to I'm just must say thanks to Jeanette for trusting me with just in my experience and just in my guidance in terms of developing the story, and she has been a wonderful in terms of being a co-writer. And I want the book probably would not have been finished if it wasn't for her assistance there, because certain times the writer's block got its way, and life itself, because I've been going through a lot in the past couple of years, that's did delayed the resumption of this. She coming along was a blessing.
Okay, so that's nice. That's nice to hear, like a partnership that writers can partner like that, you know, and encourage each other.
Writing with somebody, and I found that, yes.
That's really awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. Also, just to to let the listeners know, the viewers know as well, that there will be one of the sessions we are hoping to have is called Ants in Your Pants, and it's going to be about talking about children's book writing and the importance and some of the points writers should think about. So yeah, that will hopefully be part of the
I will look for that one as well. Yes.
Okay. Wow, thank you so much, Delroy, for joining us. Thank you so much for your wisdoms and your insights. I really enjoyed the conversation. And thank you to everyone who's watching. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out the rest of the schedule for the Write-Tukubuli Virtual Literary Festival. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is Write-Tukubuli. And please, the most important thing is, as Delroy was saying, is one of the things for writers is, being able to reach our audience. So we would really love you to like and share on your social media, share these conversations to your friends and your networks. And please use the hashtags Write-Tukubuli and Write-Tukubuli 2025 so that we can see what you're sharing and share it as well. So Delroy, thanks again for joining, and I wish you all the best with your books that are coming out, and I'm looking forward to seeing one room shack as well, so sometime.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. It was a pleasure sharing it today with you.